I'd like to call to order the Tuesday, November 1st, 2022 meeting of the Danville City Council. Roll call to establish quorum, please.
Member Williams Jr.,
Present.
Alderman Heidi Wilson, present. Carolyn Watts, present. James Sharp, present. Bob Iverson, present. Alicia Ford, present. Michael Kane, here. Mike Poor, present. Streebing, here. Terry Perrin, here. Ethan Burke, present. Ludwig, present. Tricia Teague, present. Robert Williams, present. Darren York, 14 present.
14 present, we do have a quorum. At this time, we will have the invocation by our chaplain, Thomas Mills, from the OSF Pastoral Care Department, followed the Pledge of Allegiance led by Alderwoman Wilson. Please rise.
Thank you, Mayor. Oh God, come before you with gratitude. We thank you for being a God of love and compassion. You never leave us or forsake us. Your grace has brought us safe thus far, and your grace will lead us home. We thank you for making each of us with dignity and worth. We thank you for calling us to be good stewards of your creation and to love our neighbors. I thank you for these servants, our mayor, the city staff, other employees, the city council, and our citizens. We all come tonight as complex human beings, carrying burdens, joys, and hope, trusting that you can hold us together in your love and peace. Help this council tonight make good decisions in the best interest of those served. May your truth be revealed. May your light shine brighter. And may the voices of the quiet ones be heard loud and clear. We pray for wisdom, strength, courage to do what is right and good. May we act with love for the common good. May we be good neighbors, recognizing your image in every person in our great city. We thank you for this council and those gathered around this room who work to make this place we call home a better place to live, work, and play. We bless them for their hard work. In the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Mr. Grimes, I'm sorry. Pastor, would you like to share with us any information about anything that's going on at OSF?
As you're aware, there have been some recent changes with our staffing. As you know, we had quite a few traveling nurses that were pretty expensive for us. And so the traveling nurses have been sent on their way, and we have partnered with Heart of Mary to make sure that all of the patients we get are seen and treated with the greatest care and love. That's working out fairly well for us. We've opened up a new unit in our emergency room. We call it the critical decision unit. So as we're seeing more people that are having to stay a little longer, we do have a place for them so they're not staying out in the waiting room and that sort of thing. So we continue to press on with pride and just want to continue to serve the community that we love.
Very good. Thank you so much, Chaplain. We appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.
This time you have the minutes before you of the October 18th meeting. Is there a motion to approve those?
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or debate? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. We also have the agenda for this evening. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or debate? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. It's time for my report. I do not have any proclamations or board, committee, or personnel appointments for you this evening. I do anticipate having several at our next meeting. Are there any reports of boards, agencies, or commissions? Seeing none, I would like to turn it over to our Community Relations Administrator, Ashton Greer, for a few announcements.
Hi, everybody. I first want to announce Rihanna Allis is here with us tonight. She is our newest intern in the Community Relations Department. She's here tonight just to observe and learn, and I just want to give her a warm welcome. She's been wonderful. She graduated from Oakwood High School. She went to DAC and then to Parkland College in Champaign. She's getting her associates in, she got her associates in political science. She's now at the University of Illinois Springfield, and she's getting a bachelor's degree in political science with a minor in communications and history. She has always wanted to give back to the community, and she thinks that this is a great way to start. So we welcome her, and I just wanted to introduce her tonight. Also, Potter Fest is Friday in downtown Danville from 5 to 9 p.m. So if you want to come out, it's going to be a great time.
Thank you, Ms. Greer. I also want to thank you, Rihanna. We appreciate you. For those of you Administrator Greer did not mention that this is free, that she's volunteering to do this for us because she wants to learn and give back. So we really appreciate it. Okay, at this time we will have our public hearing. I will introduce our Community Development Administrator, Logan Cronk, who will then turn things over to Mr. Grimes with Fairgram.
Yeah, just wanted to come up and give a quick introduction for Ross Grimes with Fairgram. Most of you are familiar with the sites for this public hearing. It's the old First Farmers Bank site at 821 North Vermilion, and the old Fawners Dry Cleaners to the south of that, and the old apartment complex to the south of that. And to make this a little bit more of a developmental site, the Hazel Street addresses that were acquired about a year and a half ago to the east of those sites. These were enrolled in the Brownfield redevelopment program, so it was a grant funded to do a site assessment, and I'll let Ross get into his more expertise talk than what I can give, but some contamination, which I believe we made you aware of, was found on these sites with phase 1 and phase 2 site testing. So this is the next step. That's why we run it through this Brownfield program, is to see what's there, and then if there is something there, to hopefully remediate it. And this public hearing is for that to be grant funded. So I'll just turn that over to let Ross go over what this grant is and how these sites could possibly be remediated.
Thanks, Logan. Good evening. Thank you for having me tonight. I will say you are a very lucky community to have an advocate like Logan Cronk and like Cole moving your brownfields forward. It's refreshing to work with these guys, and they are looking for opportunities to take blighted and underutilized properties and return them back into productive reuse. So it's a pretty great thing to be working with the city of Danville. I've had a chance to work with your team since basically 2013. So very pleased to be here tonight. So the site in question, I guess let's back up a little bit. We were applying for a cleanup grant application for the site. We need to have a couple of public hearings to talk about the options, the alternatives to brownfield cleanup. And before I do that, I want to kind of walk through where we are with the site, some of the work that's been done. I promise I won't take too much of your time and bore you to death with the sciencey details, right? So let's go ahead and jump here to the next. Actually, go ahead and go to the next one. That's fine. So as you know, this is the property that sits on the southeast corner of North Vermilion Street in East Fairchild. It's about 1.14 acres. 4 different parcels represented here. Mainly the points of concern for contamination are the former First Farmers Bank site on the northeast corner, and then Fawners Dry Cleaners site just a little bit to the south. So that'd be 821 North Vermilion and 817 North Vermilion. I've got a map here on the next slide if you want. Go ahead and begin here. So this is our remediation boundary that we've established. Again, a lot of the focus is on 821 and 817. Historical operations really drove why we investigated these properties to begin with, and that was done through a series of phase 1s and phase 2 environmental site assessments. So there you have the actual defined locations of the former First Farmers Bank and Trust and Fawners Dry Cleaners. So in the phase 1 process, it's more of a desktop historical research. We're always looking for historical operations on properties that could lead to releases of contamination on sites, so that be hazardous substances or petroleum. So we look back at as many resources as we can. The 1981 Sanborn Fire Insurance Map shows the dry cleaning operations at Fawners Cleaners at 817. You can see the 817 sort of on the side there along North Vermilion Street. When you're talking about a dry cleaner, you're talking about dry cleaning solvents that could potentially have been released to the environment, not necessarily maliciously, but back before more robust regulations occurred or were in place. A lot of waste solvents could have just been dumped out the back door, or the cartridges sit outside to dry out. That in turn leads to subsurface contamination in soil, groundwater, and soil vapor. So we have a site highlighted there for the dry cleaner. Go ahead and go to the next slide. The site to the north, the First Farmers Bank and Trust site. I should be careful about saying that because they're definitely not the responsible party. There's gas filling stations that were operating here long before First Farmers was there at 821. So here you can see in the 1972 Sanborn insurance map, there was a filling station located there. Interestingly enough, as I look back at the assessments that we've done, this is truly a four-corner site in middle America, right? I mean, there's 3 gas stations on the 4 corners. It's kind of amazing. So you can see the GT, there's a little circle with a GT up in the corner, upper left-hand corner. That GT is a gas tank. And of course, the CVS that's there now, that was a gas station. And to the north, at 901 North Vermilion, that was a gas station as well. So it's not unheard of to have filling stations on these corners. But I obviously identify that as a historical operation and something that we wanted to investigate a little bit before the city took ownership. Go ahead, next one. So the phase ones do that historical research. Phase 2, we go out, we drill, we sample, we collect soil and groundwater samples to evaluate the presence of contamination. In this case, those investigations started in 2013 on the Fawners Cleaners site, and they've basically progressed here through 2021 into early 2022 as the site became aggregated into the remediation area that we know today. So this is just a snapshot of the investigations that have been completed on the site. The different colors represent different events. So a lot of groundwater sampling out here, some soil as well. So again, we're looking for petroleum impacts, and we're also looking for those volatile chlorinated solvents that could be coming from dry cleaners. So quite a bit of work has been done out on the site to investigate and to characterize the site. So the long and short of it is that we've found fairly high levels of dry cleaning contamination in soil and in groundwater. So PCE, that tetrachloroethene, is the primary driver that we usually see with older dry cleaners. We did find that. We also found naphthalene, which could also be another type of dry cleaning process. And interestingly enough, we found naphthalene and in both the dry cleaning areas and in the filling station areas, because that could also be associated with diesel fuel. So we have some commingled products that are happening here. Nothing screaming high, like nothing that blows the soil saturation limits or anything like that, but they're enough that they could still be considered a source material that needs to be removed really before anything else can happen out on the site. So knowing that, working with Logan and Sam, the site was enrolled, so that entire remediation area that we showed you before, that site was enrolled into the Illinois EPA voluntary cleanup program. It's the site remediation program. And that's the pathway to a no further remediation letter, which is sort of the golden ticket when it comes to a developer coming along. They want to know that the site is clean and clear for them to go ahead and start developing and building on. Now, that doesn't mean that a site is pristine. That is no longer the case these days. Illinois allows for contamination to remain in place, but it has to be fully characterized and under control. So some of the controls that we use and we implement with a site development are really things that are already going to be there, like asphalt parking lots and concrete sidewalks and curb and gutter. Those are barriers that sever the exposure to contaminated materials. We're also considering a groundwater use ordinance on this site because groundwater is contaminated. And we're evaluating soil vapor as well because it's sort of a new regulation, but as those solvents sit in water, they can volatilize and move up through the soil column and actually move their way into buildings and intrude, and then it can become a problem. So we're evaluating that as well. So obviously some challenges are on the site here when we start to look and think about redevelopment of the property. So we started to put our heads together on what the alternatives would be for cleaning it up. How do we get this done quickly? Because we want to move development as quickly as possible here to get it back to redevelopment. Go ahead and go to the next slide. The next steps. We have a few steps here, a couple that I've already touched on, but we've identified some hot spots, and it's kind of hard to see, but up in the northwest corner there, west of the First Farmers Bank building, there is a total petroleum hydrocarbon area there that basically means that there's higher concentrations of petroleum, gasoline, diesel fuel, fuel oil that sit in soil that need to be removed before really any other activities can happen on the site. And then the green area, again, kind of hard to see, I apologize, but that's the area that's been impacted by the dry cleaner, primarily by the dry cleaner solvents. And that contamination area extends down to about 14 feet. Again, sort of before we get too far out ahead of ourselves, we know that there are these source areas that need to be taken care of. So we're really targeting this hotspot contamination remediation with this cleanup grant. The development will rely on those engineered barriers, on building control technologies, and then also a groundwater use ordinance moving forward. But those can't, the NFR, the no further remediation letter, can't be issued on a site until all those things are in place. So this is sort of laying the groundwork for site closure. And then as a developer will come along, whoever that might be, we'll have to work very closely with them to let them know here's the plan. Now that they can move forward with their plan, their site design, but we just need to make sure that we're on the same page as far as what those barriers are and what's being reported back to EPA. So the long and skinny of this, right? We want to know what's it going to cost. So again, we've gone through this analysis, and US EPA asks us to go through this exercise as well. More of a common sense approach of, okay, what are your different approaches, and what are the costs associated with those? So I always look at number one as kind of a silly step, but you don't have to do anything, right? There's contamination in the ground, and people know about it. Now there's some bad optics to that. Obviously, the city was not a responsible party in this, but right now contamination sits there. So that would be an option to let it remain. However, that's not going to attract a developer. The developers and their lenders are always very, very concerned about the environmental piece. They're becoming increasingly concerned about the environmental challenges on a site. So no action doesn't seem like the best way to go. Limited soil excavation. So this is conventional remediation of actually removing the soil. It would end up going to a licensed facility like a sanitary landfill under waste disposal profile. We looked at that, and again, we're going down to 14 feet in some spots, but it's definitely a viable option. What's nice about limited soil excavation is you're getting rid of the problem right away, and you can take samples to confirm that the problem has been addressed. The third option is in situ chemical blending or injections. We would actually inject chemicals or blend them into the soil, let them bake for a while, and what that does is ends up degrading the contaminants over time. It is a fantastic option if you don't want to do the intrusive soil excavation, but it takes time, and there's some uncertainty to it too. Injection sometimes can take 2 or 3 events of injection, and that's a longer period of time. So obviously we've had some back and forth with Sam and Logan and determining what the costs are and what we think what it would take. And we really landed on this limited soil excavation as our best option moving forward for the cleanup grant. So that's just over $983,000. When you talk about soil excavation, backfill, there's some soil retention systems that will need to go in before excavation occurs as well. So again, this is all detailed in the draft analysis of brownfield cleanup alternatives, which I believe the clerk has and will be on the website too. So that's really our options right now that we're looking at. Excavation being the recommended approach. So obviously, $983,000 is a big chunk of change. There's a lot of big eyes when you start to see a number like that. We start to think about, okay, what's our strategy? How can we help the city to get some money to actually perform this cleanup? The good news is that the bipartisan infrastructure funding this year has injected a lot of funding into brownfields in particular. $1.5 billion will be appropriated to the program over the next 5 years. So they're opening up some funding and more grants here in the next 5 years as well. So it's a good time to be asking for some money for a cleanup. So you can ask for up to $2 million. We're going to stop at that, just shy of that $1 million bracket. There's fewer grants that are given in between $1 and $2 million, and obviously more between 500 and $1 million. The city must own each parcel in order to apply for funding, which is not a problem. Logan's has been great in making all of this happen and work, which is not an easy task, to be honest with you, just from the documentation standpoint, no less working with the landowners. Right? But grant applications are due here later this month, November 22nd. So we intend to write this application, again, which is available with the city clerk and on the website. And we think this is the best strategy moving forward to get this site cleaned up. And again, in the spirit of brownfields, put it back into productive reuse. So with that, I would love to answer any questions or any further discussion that you might have.
Alderman Williams.
Yeah. Is there any possible way to recoup any financial responsibility of the individuals involved with this?
You could. It would be a very long battle. You'd have to search out those responsible parties, and there are communities that do that, but typically they'll hire an environmental attorney to do that and chase through the chain of liability. Not saying it can't be done. It would be a very long, drawn-out process, though. Great question.
Alderwoman Ludwig.
With the limited soil excavation, where does the soil go?
Soil will go to a licensed landfill. So it's
Okay. And then how long does this type of remediation generally take? Or what would you expect for our site?
I would expect the actual excavation on this site to be within months. The earth retention system going in first to make sure that we don't have subsidence. Excavation itself will probably take 2 weeks, and then there's the back end of backfilling and testing and backfilling, make sure that everything is up to code and once it's on.
Thank you.
Alderwoman Teague.
Do we know a decision date for the grant?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. This is a nationwide competition, so they give a lot of the entire nation time to put their applications together. They're all due November 22nd. The wheels start turning, and we really don't hear until May or June of next year.
Okay.
Funding then becomes available October 1st.
Alderman, any further questions?
I'm going to ask a negative question. So what happens if we don't, what are our options if we do not secure this grant?
You could leave the excavation, maybe not to the degree that we talked about. You could leave the excavation on the city's dump. Again, contamination sits there now, but that's really kind of where it's.
They're re-strategize and probably phase it out. That would take time, and I think we've discussed that this grant is probably going to come again next year, and they will see it again if we do not get funded this year, because the priority sites are probably going to take it. Maybe we're one of them, or we just phase it out and make it "quote unquote" more affordable. It does sit in a TIF district, which is built for sites like this. It's just something for the council and the staff to weigh out for sure.
Alderman, any further questions? At this time, thank you, Mr. Ham. At this time, we would invite anyone forward who has any, from the audience who has any questions or comments about the structure. Yes, sir, please come to the microphone.
If I read that right, there's only $17,000 plus between number 2 option, the excavation, number 3. Is there any efficacy difference between the two?
The efficiency of removal is that you successfully remove it. When you inject in place, there are 2 items that we're concerned with. One, it may take several events to make that happen. Right now, we were thinking maybe 3 events with the number that we had proposed. The second item would be the geotechnical change in soil. When you start to inject oxidants and these remedial chemicals into the soil, you can start to adjust how stable those soils are. So from a development friendly standpoint, it'd be it'd be awful for someone to put in a building and parking lot and then the ground start to subside. So again, that's where we ended up with the soil excavation.
Thank you.
Great question.
Alderwoman T.
If we chose the injection option, what would that timeline be?
Timeline would be, again, it's going to be subject to the actual effect of the contamination or the remediation on the contamination. So, where you move from 2 to 3 months, you're probably at 6 to 12 months, just depending on how the oxidants are actually taking hold.
Alderman, any further questions? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this application? Anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the application? Anyone in the audience who wishes to speak against the application? All right, seeing none, Madam Clerk, we will officially close the hearing. Thank you, Mr. Graham. This time we are at item number 8, petitions, communications, and audience comments. Do we have any this
Through
evening?
you, Mayor. Has everyone had a chance to complete a yellow audience comment card who wishes to speak this evening? Okay, when I call your name, please come to the podium and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. First, I have Doug Arns, and he would like to speak on clarification of votes and documents.
Thank you all. Wanted to touch base on a couple of items. The documents part is regarding the ward map this evening. It seems to be very specific in trying to post date that document to August 16th, I believe, and I'm asking why that is. Historically, these redistrictings have involved committees and other people involved. Based on what I've read, it was done by Mayor Williams and Mr. All. So my question is, were others involved? And when was the first time the map was ever presented to the public? I've been through all the meetings from August 16th to present. I didn't see anywhere where it was ever presented in a public forum. And so I'm curious how you can communicate to your constituents that they're being switched to wards if they've never seen the map. And so hopefully some clarifications on that. It seems like it should have been taken care of well in advance of this time, if it really was just a couple of individuals figuring it out. I know Adam's very adept in the GIS system. The second thing is if it does put people out of the ability to run for an election because they got moved into a different ward in which they have not resided for 12 months, is there a waiver for that? Or are they just simply out of luck because this was not done previously? So those are the questions I have regarding that. The other question I have for clarification is, it was disappointing to see that despite hiring a fire chief with a compensation package of $185,000 with the mayor's assistance, we weren't able to do a better job on fire department overtime. That number has been a bad number for over a decade. And it was my hope that with that leadership, we would be able to see that number decline. Obviously, that's going to continue to grow and grow. I already see where the administration's talking about adding a fourth fire station. That was in the media. And so
correct.
that's what's in the media, and it was indicated by the fire chief that there's a possibility that could happen down the road. So once again, it's not surprising for some, but I do question, the mayor indicated that he would have liked to have done more and gone to arbitration, but it was actually the city council that did not want to save the $600,000 that it'll eventually be in overtime. I guess my question is, which of the 8 of you do not believe your constituents have the right to have that opportunity? Doesn't mean you'd win in arbitration. I don't think we've prepared ourselves as a community to do that with the paid leave off that is given to all employees. But why was that not done in a vote form? Or will you at least acknowledge whether you do or don't support that? Part of government is transparency and allowing elected officials to demonstrate to their constituents where their position is on a particular issue. This is a major issue that has existed for, as we all know, more than a couple decades. So communicate to us. How do you feel? But to have the elected officials say, well, there's no support, that's not transparency. That's not good local government. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Director Arns.
Eric E. Kidwell of Danville. He would like to see ordinance change to allow driving his mobility scooter.
Thank you for hearing me. Yes, to reiterate, I'd like to be able to drive my mobility scooter. I'm a disabled veteran. Through talking with the chief of police, it's not allowed. Through talking with the admin at Springfield DMV, they cannot register it, nor will they. It's not it looks like a miniature car, but it's mobility scooter. Its top speed is 22 miles an hour if you go downhill, and if you're a little bit skinnier than I am. I'd like to have the ordinance take a look at that, see if, because right now I'm told that it requires a driver's license because it's a slow-moving vehicle. I have some literature here for to be passed around to you guys, but I lost my train of thought. But yeah, I'd like to be able to change the ordinance so I can drive my motor disability scooter without fear of being arrested and my mobility scooter impounded. That's basically it.
Thank you, Mr. Kidwell. You provided your contact information on the card, I believe.
Yes, I did, and I don't know who to have somebody make a copy of this, so after the meeting, you guys can have a copy of all. I did pretty much a lot of the legwork with the help of Chief Police. He sent some paperwork talking about the city ordinances regarding this topic. So.
Sure. If you, Agnell will collect that for you, and we'll get it scanned and sent out to the alderman. And then since we have your contact information, I can follow up with you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Vince Coors of Danville regarding the redistricting wards ordinance.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm new to several of you. I want to follow up on the idea of the wards. Among other things, I've been an election worker of one kind or another for 20 years, probably here in town. If I understand it correctly, the city waited until they had the final census numbers to do anything in August. They have whittled away 2 months, and they're about to give this hot potato to the Danville Election Commission with 4 working days between now and the election.
So this is for the election, which will happen in April of next year.
What about the election this fall?
That will
Does this not affect that?
It does not affect that, no.
Nothing in the newspaper indicated that. But still, you owe it to the election commission to give them a heads up on what's going on. And I'm concerned, I guess I don't really care which ward I'm in, but I don't know when I'll learn which ward I'm in. So what was published in the paper today, is that on the website?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Coors.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council this evening? All right, Chairman Ford.
Mr. Kittle, that your little scooter looks like one of those little small cars. Those little box cars. It's sitting on the parking lot.
Yeah,
I don't understand that.
It's got the full lighting,
Yeah.
brakes,
Man, that's a small little car.
one windshield wiper.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. And then we're not changing precincts or anything in the wards. I mean, the precincts still stay the same, and that's ain't going to change as far as where anybody votes.
The wards stay the same. The precincts will change, likely change before.
But the precinct boundaries won't change. The ward boundaries will change, but the precincts, you can't split a precinct or anything like that, right?
The election commission, my understanding from speaking with Mrs. Delhay is that we have to first pass our ward boundaries, and then from there they will determine the precinct boundaries.
Okay.
Mayor Williams?
Yes,
could
sir.
you give us an overview as to what this change is?
Yes, sir. When we get to that item, I absolutely will.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Chairman, did you have?
No, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. We don't have any zoning petitions before you this evening. However, there is item 10, approval of the payrolls for October 21st and 28th. Is there a motion to approve those?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or debate? All those in favor, please signify by saying, I'm sorry, roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Alderman Williams,
Yes.
York,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Wands,
Yes.
Bouchard,
Yes.
Iverson,
Yes.
Ford,
Yes.
O'Kane.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. I did that last time. Ford. Okay.
Oh, my goodness.
Alderman O'Kane, you said yes, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Force?
Yes.
Streebing,
Yes.
Pickering,
Yes.
Burt,
Yes.
Ludwig,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
14 yes.
14 yes, the motion carries. You also have before you the vouchers payable of October 25th and November 1st, 2022, as well as special runs from October 21st and 27th, 2022. Is there a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or debate? Yes, Alderwoman Teague.
I have a question concerning some payables from October 25th for golf memberships.
So every year we do what's called the Harrison Park Corporate Membership, and we take payments in the finance department. Part of that corporate membership is you get an annual membership at Harrison Park Golf Course, but we also have some other partner entities that can be purchased on that card. And so the golf memberships is distributing those funds owed to those other entities for their portion of the membership. So for example, in the past, we've had the Illini Skateland, the pool, the Palmer Arena for hockey membership, different things like